I saw you, Mike, listening to Yvette Cooper's comments there and shaking your head a bit at the idea of community hubs. Why is that?
It all seem like nebulous rubbish, to be honest, because ultimately with knives, you can have as many laws as you want. It's always been a bad thing been a criminal thing to carry a big knife. How are they going to enforce this? There was no mention whatsoever. And, of course, no one dares to mention stop and search, you see, because the elephant in the room is this, especially in London, that 6% of knife murders are committed by young black men, often against young black men. And no one wants to admit that. You've had the Mayor of London saying he was going to reduce stop and search. What needs to be is more stop and search. And what you have at the moment, you've got young officers on the street who are absolutely terrified of conducting a stop and search because the worst crime you can be accused of course, is being a racist. And so if you don't stop and search people, you're never getting bother. Those officers who want to make communities safer by finding more knives are in fear of what might happen. They might lose their job, their livelihood, and everything else. And so it's all right having community hubs. I've done youth working in London. The facts are the only way to keep knives off the street is for officers to be able to feel confident that they can stop somebody, search them, and take that knife away. And also, if you read the documents, it's got about serious penalties, curfews. Serious penalties for criminals mean going to jail. That's what they understand, not a community order and some meeting and some waffle. We've got to find knives and put those who carry them in prison.
Those are two very clear fixes you would make, but why haven't they been made then? You made the point already about stop and search and officers fearing allegations of racism. And in terms of the penalising and putting people in prison for carrying such weapons, why hasn't that become faster and more enforced?
Well, the trouble is the introduced law saying if you get your second time you get caught with a knife, you get sent to prison. But then there's a sort of asterisk, if the judge believes that there's another reason you can be let off. And so we have bizarre cases. There's some awful footage in Croydon of a lad with a zombie knife smashing a car. He wasn't even given a prison sentence. How much have you got to do to go to jail? And that's what we need to make people safer.
I was listening to a guest on Vanessa Feltz's show earlier, who is a preacher who talks about this in her community and tries to stop it. And she was talking about the need for going to the source of this, which is a lot of knife-related crime at the moment is actually robberies as well. And it's people that are on low income and they are motivated to go and, stab somebody for a phone or money or cash or something like that. How much do you think the economy is playing in this?
I think that's absolute nonsense. No one robs somebody with a knife because they're short of a few quid. They're robbing because of nasty. No one's robbing phones to feed themselves. The kids who are doing those robberies are wearing £200 trainers. I've never heard such baloney in all my life. That's utter nonsense. What needs to happen is there needs to be strict enforcement of this, and people need to know. Go on the TV as the Home Secretary and say, right, I'm telling you now, if you carry a knife, you're going to go to jail. No excuses for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever. Knives are too easy. With guns, it's hard to get them. With knives, you can buy them anywhere in any shop.
Peter Caldwell, I want to bring you back in, if this is OK, because what Mike is suggesting here, from the role of being a former Detective Chief Inspector of the Met Police, is much harder for the frontline stuff. So warnings, essentially, from a Home Secretary brings to mind, in my mind, Suella Braverman, who obviously is no longer Home Secretary. When you think about the long line of Home Secretaries we've had over the past decade, do you think any of them have been tough enough to deliver on this?
Well, they always say they want to crack down. They always say they want to do more. But the fact is that Boris Johnson was the Prime Minister. He talked about 20,000 more police officers. Well, why were those police officers needed? Because they were taken away, because the numbers went down. And what seems to happen with knives particularly, and maybe I'm sure Mike knows more about this than I do, but what seems to happen is the law innovates, the law changes, and then the criminals innovate. They get different types of knives. They go beyond. And what Yvette Cooper was saying today is that there needs to be a sort of catch-all law with that. But actually, within that, it's not going to catch everybody, because as we've seen in so many different aspects, not just knife crime, but actually in terms of immigration as well, many other crimes, you outlaw something and then the next week or the next day, the people behind it, those who can make money out of it, will innovate and do a different type of knife or something that isn't specifically banned. Would that be fair enough, Mike?
I don't really know if these people who are carrying these knives, they don't watch the TV, they don't read newspapers, they just take what they are. Often criminals will innovate. If the law changes, if they're clever enough, they will go for a certain type of knife which might get them a shorter sentence. But most of it isn't like that. You've got young men here who are prepared to carry a weapon. They know they're very unlikely to be stopped and searched, so they feel able to do that. And they also know if they're caught with it, they're very unlikely to go to jail. So there's no consequences for their wicked behaviour.